Synanon, I remember you told me about in the main home, they had a game night, and you kind of learned how to. Did you learn carpentry when you were making the tables and stuff like that?
Yeah, so I apprenticed a journeyman carpenter.
Okay.
And he taught me how to build, taught me how to read a tape measure, and the basics of carpentry, and I really loved it.
Yeah.
And I, with that, I expanded, and I kind of started like a picture framing company within Synanon, and doing a lot of just hands-on moldings and stuff like that.
So now, in your business that you have now,
yeah,
is that a part of what you learned in Synanon?
everything that I do in my life, I learned at Synanon.
Okay.
I wouldn't be here if I didn't go to Synanon, Cruz.
Yeah.
I would be dead, or wind up with a needle in my arm.
Yeah.
I told you when I was 13 years old, and
Tattoo?
I got a tattoo of a skull
Yeah.
and crossbones
With the
dripping
needle
smack
on.
underneath
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
13 years old.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it was pretty fucked up.
So Synanon taught you a craft.
taught
it
me
taught you about
taught me a
life.
trade.
Taught you trade, and that trade is part of your life right now.
Absolutely.
It's your business.
Yeah.
And your partner in your business?
Excuse me?
Your partner in your business?
My brother?
Your fucking brother.
Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing, man.
So this April we'll have our business for 20 years.
And what kind of business is that?
So it's a specialty business.
Okay.
We do these movable walls that
Yep.
divide conference rooms, gym equipment that the kids shoot around on the backstops. We do the whole structure. We work with the architects, with the engineers, and design everything with them. And then when they build a school, we go in and actually install all of this equipment.
Good shit.
Yeah, and it's a niche business.
Yeah.
And there's not too much competition with it.
Awesome. That's better.
But our main competition
Yeah.
was this company that I worked for 10 years.
Really?
And helped build them an empire.
Wow.
And then the guy that hired me was was the owner's son-in-law.
Yeah.
And the brother-in-law, I'd never met him before. All of a sudden, this fucking guy shows up after 8 or 9 years. And I hired my brother to come work with us.
Yeah.
The first day he's in the office,
Yeah.
I walk in, and the guy that hired me, the president, he says, I can't work with this guy. I was like, what do you mean you can't work with
Your brother?
His brother-in-law.
Oh, fuck.
His brother-in-law.
Fuck.
He says, I'm resigning today. And we had a whole plan. We were dominating the market. We were on fire,
Yeah.
this guy and I. And this fucking guy, he was a social maladroit. I walk into his office, and I sit down. He took over his brother-in-law's office.
Yeah.
So I sit down, and I start talking to him. He's like, yeah, this, that, and the other thing. And I said, I'm really disappointed in the installation department. We got to really work on that. And he's like, what did you just say? And I said, yeah, I'm disappointed. He's like, don't ever say that to me again. I said, what are you talking about? And he got so bent out of shape that I used the word disappointed. And I said, do you realize who you're talking to? I said, I'm your top salesman here. And he's like, I don't care who you are, man. Do you see this sign? It said Bob Stiles on it, the owner of the company. And I said,
Power move.
yeah. So I was like fucking pissed off. He said, you better get out of my office before I say something that I might regret. I get up, I slam the door. My brother, that was his first day. He was supposed to get a van and all this shit.
Yeah.
This guy said, no, he's not getting a van. Nothing. He stayed working. So I lasted about 2 or 3 years with this guy. And he was just a fucking prick. I hated him.
Yeah.
So I talked to my brother. He fires my brother out of the blue.
Yeah.
We get a facility out in Long Island. We're dominating. We have 5 different divisions. Our division's doing the best. But this guy hated us. And his right-hand man was from Boston, and the guy hated me.
Wow.
And he was just in his ear all the time, So fires my brother. And I said, you know what? Fuck this. I was there for 10 years, man. I was making a lot of money. He owed me like 150 in commissions. And he's like, I'll spread it over the course of a few years. I was like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
You got paid all the money. I want my money.
Yeah.
So I decided I'm going to be out of there. I stayed for about 2 weeks gathering some data and blah, blah, blah. And so he walks into the office. This was the day I knew I was resigning. And comes in. He's like, what's going on? I said, I just want to let you know that I'm resigning from the company today. And I'm not going to work for the competition. I'm going to be your competition. And I fucking snapped my briefcase and I walked out.
Oh, shit.
And I go against him every day.
Really?
And we kick his ass every day, man.
Holy shit.
There's nothing like a salesman scorned.
Yeah, yeah.
And let me tell you, with my training in Synanon,
Yeah.
in sales, you can't compete with us, man.
Yeah.
Can't
You
compete
got to
with
drive.
us.
You have to fucking drive, man.
Absolutely.
You come from a background where you had to learn to drive, man.
Yeah.
Fucking at that age where you started 6, 7 years old, being on the street, learning to fucking survive on your own. Those are the fucking best salesmen I've ever met in my life.
Yeah, self-made. So when I left Synanon, I was 22 years old.
Yep.
I had about 50 cents in my pocket, and I had an outer view now. They have to, because I stayed. I didn't just leave in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
Because of all the lawsuits we had going on with different papers and everything else. So I sit down, and you know who's in my outer view? This fucking guy that, after the game, said, "You're out of the home place." And I hated this motherfucker.
Yeah.
So he and his wife, the one that I started the fucking nude soap with, within this outer view.
Yeah.
So I had a little toolbox with a chisel and a fucking hammer. And I thought I'd bring that with me, right? And the guy says, "What is that?" And I said, "That's some tools." And he's like, did you buy those with your own money? And I said, "Well, whatever money I had, I bought them." He's like, "No, those are Synanon's tools. I'm not letting you bring them." I said, "What?" And I said this to this guy. His name was Walter. I said, "Walter, if I ever fucking catch you in New York City, I'm going to fucking kick your ass up and down New York City until you can't walk anymore." Wouldn't let me bring my fucking tools. And then the woman was like, "Do you really want to keep," because they audio taped the outer view.
Yeah.
And she's like, "Do you really want to keep that on there?" I said, "Absolutely want to keep that on there."
Holy shit.
So I moved back to New York. I told you my mom got a house. I moved back with her. I lasted about 6 months there. She didn't change. And I was like, but I reconciled a little bit with her. We became best friends. I knew she only had a few years to live because she was a chain smoker. She had a double mastectomy. She was fucked up. And we had the best 6 years together before she passed away.
Wow.
And I was there on her deathbed. My brother had her live in his apartment with her. We took care of her until the end. And so my older brother, Chuck, was into these local theater groups. And he says to me, "Why don't you come and be a part of these theater groups with us, doing plays and stuff." And I loved it, man. For like 3 or 4 years, we were doing like 2 or 3 plays a year, and I was starring in some of them.
Oh, shit.
And it was a great experience.
That's what the acting bug started.
That's where it started.
Awesome.
Yeah, and I owe it to my older brother, Chuck.
Good shit.
And he was in them. He was in all these shows. And then after the show, we'd go out and drink and with all the people, the cast members, and it was so much fun. And I said, "Shit, I want to pursue something like this." So I got some headshots made up when I was like 22. I have pictures of myself, a beautiful fucking hairstyle.
And back then there was no internet. We went on a casting site. You just had
I had to mail it out.
You had to mail out for your auditions, with your headshots and all that shit.
Exactly.
And the fucking big yellow envelopes.
Yep.
Yeah, I remember that when I was wrestling, I'd send out fucking shots to promoters and shit like that. Yeah.
So nothing happened, So I focused my energy on my construction business. My brother and he actually, when he left Synanon, he went into the Navy. So he was in the Navy for about 1.5 years. And it was during one of these Cuban things. And he was supposed to, they promised him to go to school. And he was on this frigate, this big boat. And he didn't go to college, go to school. So, and he was a kind of a bad kid. He didn't like to listen to people. So they gave him an option. "Listen, we'll give you an honorable discharge, or you could go to school." And he said, "Give me the fucking honorable discharge. I'm out of here." And that's when we hooked up again. He moved to New York, and I moved to New York at the same time. And in the beginning, we just went to work for a couple construction companies. Again, my brother Chuck, who knew somebody, got us a job at his construction company. So my brother and I, Scott, were working together. And, we were at odds with each other in the beginning. And, we were butting heads all the time. And it wasn't fun, And we had this one incident. We got into the Glaziers Union, and we were putting in these giant panes of glass. And we were on this rooftop, and it was a rubberized roof. And we were both into martial arts. And so we start doing these moves to each other, trying to hit each, but not trying to hurt anybody. So accidentally, I got through. I hit him in his fucking neck, and he picks me up, and he's a big guy. He's like 6'2". He body slams me on this fucking rubber thing, and I jump up, and we're going at it. And I was like, "Listen, man, let's never do this shit again." So at that point, we said, we're not gonna,
play fight. Yeah.
And all of a sudden, it snapped into both our minds. Everything we've been through in our lives. I said, "I just want you to be successful."
Yeah.
And he wants me to. So we started our construction company, and we built houses, 10,000 square foot houses out in Long Island. We were like the top paid framing company in Long Island for like 3 or 4 years. And we were rocking it, man. You know, we were doing really well. And then the recession hit in like 89.
Yeah.
And, you know, the whole construction business went down the tubes. And he wound up becoming a New York City building inspector. And I went on to doing what I was doing, some sales and everything else. And then a few years after that, I was just working in Huntington as a carpenter. This guy hired me. They were building some mansions, and I was just doing moldings. And I loved it.
Yeah.
You know, I was getting like $200 a day cash. And after a period of time, my wife was like, "What are you doing?" She's like, "You need to get your shit together and get back out in the business world and sell.
Yeah.
Because that's what you fucking thrive on."
Yeah.
So she got me this interview with this company in the beginning, the movable wall company.
Yeah.
And I go down for an interview. I meet with this guy, and he was very charismatic. And he's like, "Dude, I want you to be our sales rep for Long Island. I'll bankroll you. We don't do shit out there." So the first year, the most it ever did was like 300 grand.
Yeah.
After my first year with this company, we did over $1 million in new sales. After 2 years, we were up to 2 million, then up to 5 million. We were up to like $7 or $8 million a year in my territory alone.
Fuck. Wow.
I was on fire, man.
Holy shit, man.
Yeah.
Wow. Holy fuck. Yeah, it's the drive. It's drive
Yeah.
as a young youth.
Exactly.
Yeah, when you're young, you keep that drive. You know, I keep telling people, when we're young, we have such a vision. And when we get older, we lose that vision. But sometimes that drive we keep, and it comes out.
Yeah.
You always have it, you know?
Absolutely.
And I tell people, like, the one thing about being a child is you have a dream, right? And you got to fulfill that dream. The only difference about not making a dream come true is not trying to make it come true. And listen, now you're doing acting. You dream about that as a kid?
Well, you know, it's weird. I had an incident when I was about 9 years old. Some kind of director or something was walking around our neighborhood and was like interviewing kids. They were looking for a Dennis the Menace.
Yeah.
And I had white hair at the time.
Yeah.
So the guy saw me or something and brought me in, my mother and I, for an interview.
Yeah.
But I couldn't speak. You know, he's saying, say these words, and I couldn't even say them, you know. And fuck this kid, you know. So I had a little taste of it, what it could be, maybe, like a dream, and it kind of stuck in my mind. And then, you know, my wife, who is an amazing person, I met her at 5 o'clock in the morning on 34th and Park.
Yeah.
And again, another chance relation.
Yeah.
Just happened to meet this person. We were building this gym. It wasn't ready for people to come in yet.
Yeah.
And she shows up, and I said, "Listen, you know, she needed to change." I said, "Go in the bathroom, you could change." We were both from Bayside. We started talking, again, before internet, cell phones and this shit. And I said, "You want to meet at this place called Blossoms for a drink?" And she said, "Sure, why not?" You know. So that was a Monday. I said, "Let's meet Wednesday." So we made a deal for 7 o'clock, a date for 7. And she showed up late. I was actually walking out, and she walked in. She's like, "I wasn't going to come, but you were very cute, and, you know, I wanted to meet you again." So,
And how many years later now?
we're going to be married 34 years in September.
And how many kids later?
So that's an interesting story. I have 2 boys, one 24, Jordan's 24, and Austin's 29. And, you know, having that vasectomy in Synanon, you know, I told my wife my whole story when I first met her, that I had a vasectomy. I was in Synanon, very experimental organization, and it changed my life, it saved my life, and it made me the person I am today. And I'll never forget that. So, and she's a psychotherapist. So that was a little interesting. You know,
I can imagine.
So after dating her for a year, she's like, "Okay, I know you had all that shit that you talked about. Now what are we going to do?" You know? So we decided we're going to get married. And I said, "Listen, if we get married, we have to wait 5 years before we have a kid, because I don't want to bring a child into this world and have what happened to me. You know, you have to have the 2 parents strong, you know."
Yeah.
So we make an appointment for me to get a reversal done with this guy on Park Avenue. I go down, NYU. He said, maybe 2 days in the hospital, whatever. So I wake up from the operation, and this fucking guy says to me, "I'm sorry, man, there was a lot of complications with the surgery." I'm like, "Dude, you were working on my nuts. What the fuck are you talking about?" He's like, "Yeah, there was a lot of scar tissue down there, and I couldn't fix it. I couldn't do it. And it took me a year to heal from this guy's fucking butchery."
Wow.
I was fucked up. My nuts were the size of grapefruits, man.
For how long?
At least 6 months.
So what do you do?
So then they.
But I'm saying, how the fuck do you walk around like that?
Well, I had a sack, one of the cups, like a jock strap holding my nuts in place. So I heal from that.
Yeah.
So my wife is like, "Oh, what are we gonna do? I really want to have a baby, So we were thinking in vitro, but that shit's expensive and it's not 100%. And then a couple of my Synanon brothers had vasectomies, and they had a guy in California in Beverly Hills. His name was Dr. Sachs, of all fucking things.
And in Beverly Hills.
Yeah, and in Beverly Hills.
So, ching, ching.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, believe it or not, this shit was covered under my insurance.
Wow. Holy fuck.
Yes, I called. My friend told me about Dr. and their reversals worked.
Yeah.
They were able to have kids.
And these are ex-members of Synanon.
Yeah.
That referred you to Dr. Beverly Hills.
Yeah. And so figure this is like 11 or 12 years since I had a vasectomy.
Yeah.
So I could understand, there's scar tissue down there.
Yeah.
So I call up Dr. Sachs, have a great conversation with him. He says, "Glenn, if you come out here, I guarantee that I can make this happen." We fly out to Beverly Hills, and he said, "This is outpatient. You're not going to be sitting in a hospital room for days, blah, blah, blah." So we go to we go into the waiting room just before I meet him. And Sylvester Stallone walks in.
Oh, shit.
And I'm in the waiting room with Sly.
Yeah.
And I'm like saying to my wife, "You know who that fucking guy is?"
Yeah.
So I go in and I meet with Dr. Sachs, and I'm like, what's he in here for? He says, "I can't tell you." But he also does penile implants. So I was like, maybe, who knows?
Yeah, who knows?
So anyway, that was that little story. So we go in for the operation. Puts me under. I wake up. He said, "Congratulations, man. It was a success." I was like, "How the fuck do you know that?" 6 weeks later, my first son's conceived.
Wow. Holy fuck.
Yeah.
Wow. Amazing.
And then, I told my wife, I said, "Listen, if we have a family, I'm going to raise my kids with understanding, compassion, and love."
Yeah.
I've never raised my voice to my boys to this day. Never raised a hand to them.
Yeah.
And I said, in our home, it's okay to make mistakes. We're going to sit, we're going to talk about what happened, and we're going to work through it.
Yeah.
And I have the best relationship with my two boys
It's amazing.
and my wife,
That's amazing. Thank
And-
God for Dr. Sachs.
So after my second son was born,
Yeah.
I went the next day and got another vasectomy. So,
Jesus, you fucking you like playing with your balls, man.
so I've had 2 vasectomies and 2 reversals.
Jesus, man.
I didn't want to push the envelope anymore,
Holy shit,
I had
man.
2 kids. I still believe in taking care of the world's children.
I'm in pain thinking about that shit right now, man. I'm moving like side to side right now. I'm like, this one guy 4 fucking times, man. You're crazy.
But I could still, I'm okay with it.
Yeah. God bless you, man. You're a
Yeah.
better man than me.
So before we had the kids,
Yeah.
I still had a vasectomy.
Yeah.
My wife, I'm 30 now. We got married. I was 30 when we got married, and she says to me, "Listen, I know you got this fucking itch about the acting thing.
Yeah.
Why don't you try it?" This is how supportive my wife
Yeah.
is. She says, "You got to try it one more time." So again, I get new headshots made up. Again, putting them in the envelope, mailing them around town. Still before the internet and cell phones, nothing happened.
Yeah.
So she's like, "What are you going to do?" And I said, "Okay, I guess I got to go back to work."
Yeah.
And I actually was into golf at the time, and I decided, I was in between things before I started this other company with my brother and all these other things we did. So I just went to work as a maintenance guy at the Glen Oaks Country Club, which is a very prestigious golf club in Long Island, just as a maintenance guy so I could play the golf course.
Yeah.
So every Monday the course was closed and they'd let
Play,
people play there. So I did it for about 3 or 4 months, and then that was enough. I had to go out and get a real job again. And then, my sons grew up, and they know my story, because I love telling my story. And my oldest son, in 2018, he says to me, "Hey, Dad, guess what?" I was like, "What?" He said, "This thing, they have a thing called the internet now, and they got cell phones and computers. Why aren't you fucking acting?"
Wow.
And I said, "Dude, you're 100%. He was working for me at the time.
Yeah.
And I looked at him and I said, "You're 100% right, man." So I signed up with Backstage.
Backstage was your first one?
First one.
Okay, yeah.
Backstage.
I'm on Backstage. Yep.
Yeah, Backstage.
Yep.
It cost like $100 for the year or something like that. The first thing I applied for was a show with Kevin Bacon. With Kevin Bacon, City on the Hill.
Yeah.
My very first gig.
You got it? Did you get it?
Yeah, they sent me a thing. We need you to be in Yonkers at like 7 o'clock in the morning, call time, you know?
Yeah.
And I was so excited, so nervous. I was
Yeah.
like, holy shit, telling my wife, you know, I'm going to be on set.
Yeah.
So, you know, and again, I couldn't figure out the paperwork and, you know, where to go and all this shit. So I'm driving over to Yonkers at like 6 in the morning. And I wound up like 20 minutes late or something. And they're calling me up. Are you coming? I said, yeah, I got lost or whatever. So I pull in, run into Holding and sign my name or whatever. And I have a suit on. And they said, okay, we're going to, all the background, we're going to go over, get on a bus, and we're going to go to a church.
Yeah.
They loaded us all up, and I remember sitting there. I was so nervous. I'm talking to some of the other people. It was my first shoot and everything. And I walk into this church, and Kevin Bacon is standing right there. You know, he plays like a FBI agent up in Boston.
Yeah.
And it was a great shoot. He was nice. He walked around. I said hello. You know, I
Yeah.
took a couple little pictures, which you're not supposed to do.
Yeah.
So that was my first one. And
so
then
from the first, so what do you think you've done? What year is this, Stoner? What year?
this is 2019.
2009. So from 19 to now we're in 24. What do you think you've done? How many?
I would have to say I've done at least 50 shows
Wow.
and at least 5 movies
And we got a commercial you've done.
and a commercial.
You want to play it?
Sure.
Chris, want to play that commercial you've done? Now, this commercial, what is this? What is this for?
Yeah, so it's for a pharmaceutical company.
And how'd you get it? Through what?
So backstage.
Backstage is
Yeah.
commercial.
So
Wow.
this was 2020.
Okay.
There I am, one of my first.
Oh, there it is. Is that the first one?
That was sitting on
Are
the.
you allowed to show that picture?
Yeah, why not?
Okay, fuck it. Okay.
This is 5 years ago. Then I was in the show with The Deuce with James Franco.
Who's that?
That's me.
Holy fuck.
I played a sleazy video director.
Holy shit.
With-
You did look like a sleazy
Yeah,
video director.
she
Look
was
at that.
she's Emily Mead. She was the star of the show. Really nice person.
Nice. Okay.
And then, so in 2020, the pandemic hit.
Oh, here it is.
Yeah.
Oh, here's. You get to keep the dog?
No, that dog and I are so close, though.
A
His
mother
name is
celebrates
Chubbs.
another day
Chubbs.
after surgery
Yeah.
at one of the top.
And
Is this during the pandemic?
This
Because everyone
was.
they had the mask
Yeah.
on.
Marie is back
So
on
I'm just the mayor of the town, walking around saying hello to everybody.
And where's this filmed at?
Up in this little town called
I
forget the name of the town. About 2 hours from here.
Now, did you have to audition for this, or they just said, "Hey, you're hired"?
So what happened was I applied for this commercial, right?
Yeah.
And it's during the pandemic. I wasn't getting it. Nobody was working.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, I get this call on a Friday night.
Phone call? Or
Phone
was it
call.
email?
No,
Okay.
we had cell phones at this
Yeah,
point.
yeah, I know. I'm saying, but a lot of times they'll text you, "Hey, you available?"
No, this
blah, blah,
guy
blah.
calls me up and
Yeah.
he's like, "Are you Glen Stoner, the actor?" And I said, "Of course I am."
Who else you thinking is, motherfucker?
Yeah.
Fucking saying my thing.
So he's like, "I've been looking for you for 2 weeks." I was like, "What do you mean?" I said, "I put my cell phone and my email out there."
Yeah.
And he's like, "You know, we're doing a pharmaceutical commercial and the owners only want you. Only want you."
Did you have your beard at that time?
I did.
And they made you shave it?
They asked me to shave it.
Okay.
You know,
Did you shave before or you shaved it on set?
I shaved before I went
Before.
to the set.
Okay.
And I said, "So what is this all about?" He's like, "Yeah, you know, we need you up at this place tomorrow. We'll send a car right now to pick you up, and we'll whatever you want, we'll pay you."
Yeah.
I was like, "Really?" And I
Oh,
said, "I
fuck.
got off the phone. So I got to talk to my wife about it."
Yeah, yeah.
She's like, "This is a scam. No fucking way."
I know, those
You know?
motherfucking scams. There's some scam shits out there
Yeah.
with the fucking website. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I called the guy back and I said, "Is this for real?" He said, "Yes, this is for real." And I said, "All right, how about $5,000?"
Yeah.
And he's like, "All right, we'll do
Oh my God. You know what that means? Fucking
I
too
know,
low,
I
man.
know. And I had to sign a document saying that if the commercial makes it, I can't get any residuals.
Oh, shit.
So it was a one-time lump sum fee, and it went national.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
you know what? I'm okay with that.
Listen, you're on fucking film. How many people get to do that?
Not many.
Not many. And with where you've came from, and then to see yourself on fucking
It was
on
amazing.
TV,
Yeah.
successful business. Now let's go to another one, another nice one you sent me. Let's go. Now, what was the show you did with Pete Davidson?
Oh, so he's doing a show now called Bupkis.
Bupkis. And Chris, we have that too. That's on there. And this was filmed at, this is already out, so we can talk about
Yeah,
it?
yeah,
Okay,
this is
so it's already
already
out. So this was filmed at eventually in Farmingdale, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
So this
Oh,
was,
there it is.
Yeah. So,
So now-
this is a 3-day shoot. And again, you know, before he plays this,
Yeah.
I just want to say, like, when I go on set now,
Yeah.
I consider myself a professional background actor.
Okay.
That's how I consider myself.
Because, can I tell you something? It is professional.
Yes.
You're a key part. Like I told Mike Muniz, we had him on here. That's a key part of the fucking movie.
Without us.
There is no movie.
But I like to take it to one step further.
Yeah.
So because of everything that I've been through in my life,
Yeah.
knowing Chuck,
Yep.
knowing these charismatic people, I'm not intimidated by people.
Yeah.
You know, because people are people.
Yeah.
And, you know, like you said before, if you're a scumbag, you don't want to be around a scumbag.
You know people.
You know people.
You know the energy.
You know the energy.
Yeah.
So when I go on set now, I know the ADs start placing people where they want to go and everything like that. The first thing I do is I look where the stand-ins are.
Yeah.
I look where the camera is and what angle they are, and I put myself into that spot. And if the AD doesn't like me there, they're going to move me.
That's smart. Yeah, it's smart. They come around. They know what they're doing.
Yeah.
They know who to place people. Yeah, if you're already there, fuck it. You got a good shot staying there.
Yeah.
Why not try?
And after the first take, you're in. You're in.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So if you watch this,
Here, let's see this right here.
If you watch the whole episode
Yep.
of Bupkis,
Yeah.
I'm in 10 different scenes.
So now this scene here we have. What is this? Oh,
Yeah. So what happens is,
Chris. Yeah, you can play that one now. Let's see it.
okay,
now.
put it on pause real quick. Put it on pause. Okay. So this is the second day.
Okay.
And I see Pete and I see this girl, and I know they're going to come off the roller coaster.
Yeah.
So everybody's getting position, background, and everything. The director comes up to me and hands me a phone,
Yeah.
and he said, "I want you to start videotaping when Pete's yelling at this girl when they get off the roller coaster."
Was that part of the script? Where he just said, "Fuck," he threw it on the fly. You think?
Who?
The director, was that on the fly? Like, you know what?
I
I'm
think
gonna throw
it was-
this in there.
Yeah, I think it was just.
It had to be because they would have had someone set up with it already, right?
Yeah, because this whole thing with Pete, he's
Yeah.
amazing. This
Yeah.
was all ad-libbed. They didn't have
wow.
a script.
Holy fuck!
Every scene was ad-libbed.
So he did everything ad-libbed. Right
Ad-libbed.
Wow, good for him. That's
But
fucking.
the
that's-
funny thing, when I first got there on day one, you know, I was sneaking some videos and shit, and he had a guard, you know, guarding him the whole time. Big fucking guy.
Yeah.
He walks up to me, he says, "You're not videotaping or taking pictures, are you?" And I put it away. I said, "No, I'm not doing anything." He said, "Don't let me see that phone out again." I was like, "All right, dude, you're a
Yeah.
big fucking guy."
Yeah.
So now when this scene happens,
Yeah.
and I'm videotaping, and the guy is standing there, I said, "I hope the director told this guy that I'm allowed to videotape this scene."
Yeah. Chris, let's play this part. Let's play this. It's pretty funny. So the girl's yelling at Pete. She's crying.
There should be some volume. There's got to be volume.
Nah, we could just.
No, because what he says to me, Kenny Rogers of the future, you got to hear that.
I don't know. If you can hear it.
Can you hear that? Can anybody hear it?
So you know what? If we can't hear, we'll just. You know the scene. So let's see now the girl and now this fucking guy. Who's this guy
Yeah,
with the hat?
yeah,
he's a funny motherfucker, man.
Yeah, he's been in a lot of shows.
He's funny. He's
See
funny.
me in the background?
Oh yeah,
there?
there he is right there. Yeah, there he is.
Yeah.
There's Stoner right there with the phone.
Yep.
He's videotaping. So now at this point, you're saying, "Oh goddamn, Pete Davidson! I hope your fucking bouncer don't come smash this phone." Because I was
And
trying to
that-
sneak pictures.
And this guy is saying, you know, he actually says, "Pete Davidson, you're a fuck up, you know,
Oh,
you're
yeah,
racist
yeah,
and shit."
yeah.
So now this guy, he starts saying, "Pete, I told you we shouldn't have come to this fucking action park. Now we got this Kenny Rogers of the future motherfucker over here thinking he's a journalist, trying to grab the phone from me." And and that was all ad-libbed.
So now let me ask
And
you,
they kept the whole thing in.
how long ago was this?
Last year,
Oh, last year. Okay.
last summer,
And how long after did you film this did it hit? What channel was this on?
Netflix.
It's on Netflix. Okay.
This was the first episode of Bupkis.
Oh, it was.
It's called Adventureland.
Oh, fuck. Okay.
So he brings his girlfriend's sister to Adventureland with
Yeah.
his posse, and he's fucking up all over the place with this
Yeah,
girl.
yeah.
But he's trying to, befriend her.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
everything he says to her, we'll go on the roller coaster. It's a piece of cake. You won't be afraid. And she's afraid. She
And
goes
that's the little
fucking
girl?
crazy. The
That's
little
the little
girl.
girl.
So that's why when she got off the thing, she starts yelling at him.
Yeah.
And she says, you said in the car that you don't like gays. You lied about it. You don't like gays. You never saw Pink Panther. I mean, not Pink Panther. The other one.
Which one?
What's the one that came? Black Panther.
Okay.
So she says, you lied. You said you saw Black Panther twice. You never saw Black Panther.
The little girl?
Yeah, the little girl. So that's when that guy said, there's no R in Wakanda, you fucking racist and shit. You got to hear the whole scene. It's fucking great.
Yeah, you know what? You got to give it to Pete Davidson, man.
Yeah.
The fucking guy.
So
He's living, man.
So check this out. When they did we did about 3 or 4 takes on this.
Yeah.
And Pete and his posse, you see there's an umbrella back there?
Yeah.
So they all walked over to that umbrella, and when they said, okay, cut or whatever, And so all the other background people walked off that way.
Yeah.
I walked right over and I hung out with Pete and his fucking Derek and the whole group. But after that scene, Pete came up to me and said, "Hey, do you mind if we keep that in?" And I'm like, "Pete, that's why I'm here."
Yeah.
And then Derek came up to me and said, "What's your name?" I said, "Stoner." He said, "Derek, hey, Stoner, man, that's fantastic."
Oh, shit.
And he says, "I didn't mean anything. I didn't want to insult you by calling you Kenny Rogers of the future and shit." And I was like, "No, that was great, man. I loved it."
And that's all improvised, right?
All improvised.
Yeah. You know, it's funny. I did something real quick with a kid, and he's fucking screaming at me. Goes, "Yeah, with that big fucking beard and those 4 fucking eyes, you can't see shit." And they're like, "Okay, cut." And the kid and I see him standing there, and I'm like, He goes, "Hey, Cruz." I'm like, "Hey, what's up, man?" He goes, "Are we good?" I said, "What do you mean?" I said, "What do you mean?" He goes, "Yo, right."
Yeah.
I said, "Dude, we're acting, man." He goes, "Yo, I didn't know." He goes, "I didn't even want to fucking talk to you." I said that shit. I said, "Dude, I dig." I said,
Exactly.
I said, "I dig it." I said, and I appreciate your professionalism, man, because
Yeah.
you killed it. I'm fucking laughing right now because I'm
Yeah.
like, did he fucking just say that to me?
And if you notice, I was laughing too a little bit because
Yeah.
when he turned around, I had no idea he was going to say that.
Yeah.
And it was just so fucking great.
It's amazing
man.
movies, right? It's amazing
Oh.
the field, right?
So,
You love it?
I love it. So
Love it.
so we have one more day there, right?
Yeah.
So the next morning, I know where the camera is. So these guys come out. I'm standing right by where the next scene is going to take place. Derek walks by me and says, "Hey, Stoner, good morning," blah, blah, blah. And then Chase, his actual girlfriend, Pete Davidson's girlfriend, comes up to me and says, "Stoner, man, that was a great scene yesterday." Two
Shit.
principals coming up to me and saying what a great fucking
How
thing
great
it
feeling
was.
is that?
Amazing.
How great feeling is that?
Amazing.
Right? And you get look how you talk about it. You're so
Yeah.
energetic about it. That's the best thing. When I interview guys like you, Mike Muniz, Hector, the guys, it's amazing because you could just see the life when you talk about the act. Like,
Yeah.
like I keep saying it. I said it to Mike. I said it to Hector. I'm saying it to you. It's almost like you get a fucking high from acting,
It
right?
is. It
It's
is.
almost a fucking
When you get
high.
that call
or you get the
from
email.
Central Casting
Yeah.
that you're in or from whatever,
Yeah.
it's like you hit the jackpot, man.
Yeah.
It's like fucking so exciting.
Yeah, it's wild. When I call my wife, I was like, "Holy fuck!" She was what? I said, "They fucking call me." She goes, "You fuck." My wife, she's like, "You're fucking kidding me."
Yeah.
I'm like, "No." And she goes, "How?" And then to myself, I'm like, "How the fuck am I getting this shit? I got no experience."
Crazy.
But you know what? It's not having fear to try something new.
Exactly.
And that's it. Like you said, when you were younger, you went up to Chuck in that fucking hot tub. You
Yeah.
didn't give a fuck. You went up to Pete Davidson in that scene. You didn't give a fuck.
Yeah.
Sometimes you gotta not give a fuck.
Exactly.
Because if you don't try, you don't know.
And as we talk about it,
Yeah.
I'm not doing this for the money.
Yeah.
I'm doing this for the thrill,
For the excitement.
for the excitement.
Yeah.
This is my hobby now.
Yeah. But look what you
know?
just got. You just came off
Oh.
a set for 5 days,
Oh
right?
my God.
So now, after the set, they just bumped you. You're eligible for SAG now.
Exactly.
And that's a whole new
Oh
realm.
my God.
And this is you did a big, I'm not going to say what set you on, but you're on a big set, and it's a big production, man.
Daredevil. I guess I could say
You can say Daredevil. You just did Daredevil 5 days.
Yeah.
That's a big fucking set.
Big
And
deal.
this is something that, listen, you didn't go to theater school.
No.
You're
Well,
learning on the job,
no.
basically, right?
Well, again.
But you did the plays and stuff with your brother, you told me. Yeah.
But on top of that, my wife being as supportive as she was,
Yeah.
I said, you know what? I need to learn more about acting.
Yeah.
I signed up for a 6-month course
Yeah.
in NYU,
Mhm.
and I took a Stanislavski, if I said it right,
Yeah.
method acting.
Okay.
And
So if people don't know what method acting is, tell them what it is.
well, method acting is like getting really into your mind and heart of that character
Yeah.
and understanding how to be something that you're not.
Yeah. Mhm.
And it was really helpful for
Yeah.
me. Not, so much in this, but in life too.
Yeah.
Because I would have to go into meetings with multimillionaires, when I started the business, these big corporations, and sell them, my company when I first started. And I said, you know what? I'm going to go in and act.
Yeah. Fuck it. Fake it till you make it, right?
I
Is that
put
what
on
they
a
say?
3-piece suit. I walked in. I was like the hottest fucking guy in the room.
Let me tell you something. I took that picture with you, that set we did.
Yeah.
I fucking swear to God, bro, who the fuck is that? I was like, you know who that is? They said, no, it is. I think I fucking told you. I said, it's the guy from Jaws. Because you look like the guy from Jaws.
Okay.
What's the guy from Jaws' name? Christian, what's the guy from Jaws' name? That Stoner looks like.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Richard
Richard Dreyfuss.
Hey,
So,
he was doing a lot of coke on that
so
scene in that movie.
I remember I fucking forgot who I told. Everyone was like, who's that? I said, you know what it is? That's Jaws. And then my boy sends me a picture. He's like, oh my God, it's Richard Dreyfuss. And I look, I was like, holy fuck, Stoner does look like Richard Dreyfuss.
Okay.
And then eventually he realized, because you motherfucker, my
Yeah.
boy Jay's like, you motherfucker, you fucked with us. I said, but But look at him. You're a fucking. You are. You not look like an actor. You are a fucking actor, man. You are a fucking actor. And Stoner, let me tell you something, man. Like I said, when I met you and we started conversating, like I think this was in the works for the podcast, and I didn't want to ask you at that point. But then as we started talking a little bit and we became friendly, I said, you know what? Let me ask him. My wife goes, you know what? Because my wife is big into that stuff, religion, and stuff that helps people. And so am I. And that's what this podcast is about. It's from people that came from such a situation to turn it around and to have such a great story is what we want. I don't want this shit, man. Like I told you, listen, any question I ask you is going to be a straight question. And I would never label something that other people label it as because I don't believe in stuff like that.
I have turned down many interviews. A lot of people wanted to talk to me about my story. Yeah. And I've shied away from it. Yeah. Just because people twist shit. Yeah. You know? Yeah. And when I met you, I said, this guy is not going to twist anything.
Fuck no, man.
And, you know, I respect that. And that's why I'm here today, man.
Yeah. And let me tell you something. With Chuck, with his story, you know, the media says one thing about this guy, but let me tell you something. My mind of him now is completely opposite what the media made me try to believe.
Thank you.
Because now I know his story from someone who lived that story and knowing what he went through. So people don't just change because they just snaps. Yo, he went through life-altering experiences with his wife. So you know what? Synanon, in my book, man, it helped a lot of people. And everyone you tell me that you met, there's a lot of successful people that came out of Synanon.
Oh, a lot of successful.
You know what?
Like, we all can still consider ourselves brothers and sisters, Synanon brothers and sisters.
Yeah, that's
the relationships that I have with many, many people around the country that we all shared this experience. I can't even tell you the bond that we have.
And how successful are those people?
I mean, I'm going to say a lot of them are very, very successful.
Great. Yep.
We did lose a few that went the wrong way.
Of course, it's going to happen.
And they couldn't handle it, you know, and some suicides that hurt us, you know. Yeah. And anytime we lose a Synanon brother or sister, it hurts. Yeah, and we have our own Facebook page and we follow each other.
Yeah, maybe you tell me that. Yeah.
And I mean, the biggest thing that I get out of this whole thing is when I wake up in the morning, Cruz, and I tell my two boys, the first thing I do, and I still do it to this day, is I look in the mirror. I got a big mirror by my bed, and I say, "You're number one, but don't step in number two on the way out."
Stoner, it was a fucking pleasure to have you, man. You got some fucking story, man. You're a great man, and I can't wait to see the fucking movies and shit. We're gonna be on another set somewhere again.
Absolutely,
you
Cruz.
know. And yeah, it was a pleasure, man.
Cruz, I can't thank you enough.
It's fucking awesome having people like you on the show, and this is what the show's about, man.
You're an amazing guy, and I look forward to seeing more of your interviews with people. I
appreciate it,
podcasts, and I wish you nothing but success.
I appreciate
You're going to be on top of the world, brother.
That's the goal. The goal is get people's story out there. If we go to the top with them, that's where we go.
Thank you,
Stoner,
man.
Appreciate you, man. Thank you.
Appreciate you,
Thank
brother.
you.
Thank you.